Blind Dog growled at the babysitter, and when Dad checked the camera, he was horrified. In the dim light of a cozy living room, a scene unfolded that would send shivers down anyone's spine. An innocent babysitting job turned into a night of dread when a blind dog, seemingly unaware of its surroundings, growled ominously at a caregiver. What could have triggered such a fearsome response from a pet that relied on its other senses? As the father reviewed the footage captured by the security camera, a chilling realization dawned upon him, leaving him horrified and questioning everything he thought he knew about his home life. It was an ordinary Saturday evening in the Thompson household. The family had planned a much-needed night out, a chance to reconnect and unwind away from the daily grind of work and parenting. With their 2 children happily occupied at a friend's house, the Thompsons felt an air of excitement as they prepared for their evening together. However, they faced one small hurdle: finding someone to watch over their beloved dog, Max. Max was no ordinary dog. Though he was blind, he had been a loyal companion to the family for years. His other senses had adapted remarkably, allowing him to navigate the house with surprising ease. He could detect sounds, scents, and vibrations, compensating for his lack of sight. The family had always believed that Max's unique abilities made him a protective force in their home, a guardian who would alert them to any potential dangers. With the kids away and no family members available to help, they turned to a local babysitter, Sarah, who had come highly recommended. Sarah was enthusiastic and had experience with animals, which gave the Thompsons some peace of mind. They explained Max's blindness to her, assuring her that he was gentle and loving despite his condition. They left for their evening, feeling confident that everything would be fine. As the night progressed, Sarah settled into the routine of caring for the house and the dog. Max, usually calm and affectionate, seemed to sense an unfamiliar presence. The air in the room shifted as Sarah moved about, her footsteps echoing softly against the wooden floors. Perhaps it was the change in energy or the different scent she brought with her that triggered Max's instincts. What began as a low growl soon escalated, leaving Sarah visibly unsettled. Max's growl was deep and resonant, a sound that held an undeniable weight of warning. For a pet that had always been the epitome of gentleness, his sudden defensiveness was alarming. Sarah tried her best to calm him, speaking softly and attempting to reassure him that she meant no harm. However, Max's instinct remained unyielding. He sensed something amiss, something that was beyond the comprehension of his human caregiver. Meanwhile, the Thompsons were enjoying their night out, blissfully unaware of the tension building back home. They laughed and shared stories, their minds free of worry. It wasn't until they returned and checked their phone that the atmosphere shifted once again. A notification from their home security app caught their attention. A motion alert in the living room had been recorded. Curiosity piqued. They decided to watch the footage to see how their evening had unfolded in their absence. As they replayed the video, the room fell silent. The sight of their beloved dog growling intensely at the babysitter was shocking. They watched, captivated and horrified, as Sarah's unease grew, her attempts to soothe Max failing in the face of his growing agitation. The growl echoed through the speakers, reverberating with an intensity that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. What was he reacting to? Why was he so disturbed? The father's heart raced as he tried to piece together the events of the night. He knew Max well enough to understand that this was not just a trivial reaction. Something had triggered his protective instincts. Was it Sarah? Had she done something that made Max feel threatened? Or was there an unseen presence that was causing his distress? As each moment unfolded on the screen, the family's minds raced with possibilities, their imaginations conjuring images of danger lurking in the shadows. Max's growl was more than just a bark. It was a warning, a call to action. The family had always regarded him as their protector, but now they were faced with a chilling realization. What if their blind dog knew something they did not? What if his instincts were alerting them to a genuine threat? The father felt a surge of protectiveness for his family, a primal urge to ensure their safety. In that moment, the atmosphere in the room shifted. It was no longer just a video of a mundane evening. It was the beginning of an unsettling mystery. The Thompsons were plunged into a world of uncertainty, where the comforting familiarity of their home felt suddenly foreign. They had always trusted Max, but now they found themselves questioning the safety of their environment and the people they invited into their lives. As the footage continued, they watched Sarah's body language shift from calm to anxious, her laughter fading as she sensed Max's discomfort. The father's heart sank as he recognized the fear in her eyes. She was doing her best, but Max's growl was a clear indication that something was wrong. It was a moment that would forever change their perceptions of trust and safety within their own home. What had started as an innocent evening of relaxation now spiraled into a gripping narrative filled with tension and apprehension. The Thompsons knew they had to investigate further. They needed to understand Max's behavior and uncover the truth behind his growl. As they contemplated their next steps, the family felt the weight of responsibility resting heavy on their shoulders. The story of a blind dog's protective nature had taken a dark turn, prompting questions that couldn't be ignored. What had Max sensed that night? What was the truth behind the growl? As they prepared to delve deeper into the enigmatic events of that evening, the Thompsons steeled themselves for a journey that would test their bonds, challenge their notions of safety, and ultimately lead them to a profound understanding of loyalty, love, and the unseen forces that shape their lives. As the family sat together, the room heavy with a palpable tension, they contemplated the implications of Max's growl. The comforting glow of the living room lights felt dimmer, as if the shadows were closing in around them. Each of them was lost in their thoughts, wrestling with the unease that had settled in their hearts. The father, still staring intently at the footage, felt a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. What had their beloved dog perceived that they could not? The mother, sensing the strain in the atmosphere, reached over to comfort her husband, her voice soft yet firm. "We need to trust Max. He's always been there for us. If he's acting this way, it means there's something we need to pay attention to." Her reassurance was meant to allay their fears, but deep down, she too felt the weight of uncertainty. She had always prided herself on being a good judge of character, and yet here they were, caught off guard by their own choice of caregiver. As they replayed the footage, they noticed the subtle changes in Sarah's demeanor. Initially, she had seemed cheerful, her laughter filling the room as she interacted with Max. However, the moment the growling began, her expressions shifted dramatically. The carefree babysitter was replaced by someone visibly uncertain, her laughter dying away as she began to fidget. The family could almost hear her internal struggle as she tried to reassure both herself and Max, her body language betraying her rising anxiety. The father paused the video, pointing out the moment when Sarah's smile faltered. "Look at that," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's like she sensed something was off too." The mother nodded, her brow furrowing in concern. But what could it be? Max has never acted like this before. They decided to reach out to Sarah the following day, needing to gather more information about what had transpired in their absence. It was essential to understand if there was something she had done or said that might have upset Max, or if there was indeed a more sinister presence in their home that night. The couple agreed that open communication was vital. They couldn't allow assumptions to cloud their judgment. As the night progressed, the Thompsons found it difficult to shake off the oppressive feeling that had settled in. They tucked their children into bed with a sense of dread, the usual bedtime routine feeling more like a chore than a source of comfort. They exchanged worried glances, silently acknowledging the underlying tension that now threaded through their family dynamic. The father took on the role of protector, ensuring the doors were locked and the windows secured. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It was a primal instinct, one that urged him to remain vigilant in the face of potential danger. The mother, recognizing his unease, attempted to lighten the mood with stories of happier times, memories that had once brought laughter. Yet, even the fondest recollections felt tinged with a fear that was hard to articulate. As dawn broke, the couple felt the weight of the night's events lingering in the air like a dark cloud. They decided to meet with Sarah in the morning, desperate to piece together the fragments of the evening that had left them so unsettled. They hoped that perhaps a conversation could help clarify the unsettling atmosphere that had enveloped their home. When Sarah arrived, she wore a concerned expression, her body language tight and guarded. The Thompsons welcomed her in, offering a warm cup of coffee, but she seemed distracted, her eyes darting around the living room as if she were searching for answers. The father took the lead, gently broaching the subject. "We watched the footage from last night, and we saw how Max reacted to you. Can you tell us what happened?" Sarah took a deep breath, her gaze dropping to the floor as she recalled the events of the previous evening. "I don't know what to say. I was just playing with him at first, and then he started growling. It was so strange. I felt a chill in the air, like something just wasn't right." Her voice trembled slightly, and the Thompsons exchanged glances, realizing that she too had been affected by the incident. The mother leaned in, her voice soothing. "We trust you, Sarah, but we need to understand what you felt in that moment. Did you notice anything unusual or hear anything strange?" As Sarah recounted her experience, she described a feeling of unease that had washed over her as she played with Max. She mentioned hearing faint noises outside, the rustling of leaves, and the sound of footsteps that seemed to echo in the stillness. "I thought it was just my imagination, but Max, he was different. It was like he could sense something I couldn't." Her eyes widened as she spoke, the fear evident in her features. The Thompsons listened intently, their hearts racing as they absorbed her words. Could it be that Max had sensed an intruder, or was it something else entirely? The idea of an unseen presence lurking just beyond their walls seemed far-fetched, yet it was a possibility that they could no longer ignore. As they delved deeper into the conversation, the atmosphere began to shift. The weight of the unknown was still present, but it was now accompanied by a sense of determination. The family realized that they needed to take action. They had to investigate further, not only for their peace of mind, but also for the safety of their home and family. Together, they devised a plan to search the house and the surrounding property, checking every nook and cranny for anything unusual. Armed with flashlights and a sense of purpose, they began their investigation. As they moved through the house, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were embarking on a quest for answers, one that would test their bond as a family and reveal the strength of their love for one another. Their search commenced in the living room, where Max lay quietly, as if sensing the tension in the air. They examined the windows, ensuring that they were securely locked and checking for any signs of tampering. The father's heart raced as he recalled the fear he had felt the night before, but he pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the task at hand. As they moved further into the house, they began to explore the backyard, the sun casting a warm glow over the space. The mother felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps they would find nothing, and this would all turn out to be a misunderstanding. But as they ventured into the shadows of the trees at the back of the property, a sense of foreboding washed over her. They searched the perimeter, scanning for anything that might explain Max's behavior. It was then that they noticed a broken branch on the ground, leading towards a secluded part of their yard. The father knelt down, inspecting the area closely. It was a small detail, but it felt significant. Had someone passed through here recently? The family exchanged uneasy glances, the air heavy with apprehension. With renewed determination, they followed the trail of broken branches and disturbed foliage until they reached the edge of their property. It was there, hidden behind a bush, that they discovered something that would change everything. A small piece of fabric caught on a thorny branch. The fabric was distinctive, a vibrant color that stood out against the greenery. The father's heart sank as he realized it was part of a jacket he recognized, a jacket belonging to a neighbor who had been acting strangely in recent weeks. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place, and they could no longer dismiss Max's warning as mere coincidence. As they gathered around the fabric, a sense of urgency filled the air. They had to confront the neighbor to understand what had been happening in their quiet neighborhood. The father felt a surge of protectiveness for his family and an instinctual need to uncover the truth, no matter how unsettling it might be. With their resolve strengthened, the Thompsons returned to the house, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. They would need to discuss their findings with Sarah, who had been drawn into this mystery alongside them. As they prepared for what lay ahead, they realized they were no longer just a family reacting to an unsettling event. They had become a team determined to protect their home, their loved ones, and their beloved dog Max, who had always kept watch over them in ways they were only beginning to understand. In the days that followed, the family navigated the delicate balance between fear and vigilance, their bond deepening as they faced the unknown together. They would soon learn that sometimes the most profound truths emerge from the shadows, and it is in those moments of uncertainty where loyalty, love, and courage shine brightest. As the days unfolded, the Thompsons found themselves enveloped in a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, curiosity, and an unyielding determination to uncover the truth. The discovery of the fabric had ignited a flame of urgency within them, propelling them into a proactive stance that they had never anticipated. What had begun as a simple night out had spiraled into a complex web of suspicion and concern, and they knew they had to tread carefully. The family convened in the living room, where the atmosphere was charged with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Max lay at the feet of his owners, his presence a comforting constant in this sea of uncertainty. The father, feeling the weight of responsibility, initiated the conversation. "We need to talk to Sarah about what we found. She was there that night, and her perspective is crucial. We can't afford to overlook anything." The mother nodded in agreement, her brow furrowed with worry. "I think we also need to reach out to our neighbor. If something is off with him, we need to know. It's our duty to protect our family and community." The weight of their decisions felt heavy, but they were united in their resolve. Together, they would navigate this uncomfortable terrain. When Sarah arrived that evening, she was greeted with a mix of warmth and urgency. The Thompsons explained their findings, showing her the piece of fabric they had discovered. Sarah's eyes widened in recognition as she examined it closely. "That's definitely from Jake's jacket. I've seen him wearing it around the neighborhood," she said, her voice tinged with concern. The father leaned forward, his expression serious. "Have you noticed anything strange about him lately? Any unusual behavior? We need to understand if there's something more to this situation." The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the implications of their findings. Sarah hesitated before responding, her brow furrowing. "I've seen him lurking around, but I thought it was just my imagination. He's always been a bit odd, but I never thought he would pose a threat." The Thompsons exchanged worried glances. It was becoming increasingly clear that their instincts had been right. Max had sensed something amiss, something they had all overlooked. The mother, feeling a surge of protectiveness, added, "We should approach him together. If he's a danger to our family, it's better that we confront this as a united front." The agreement among the group was palpable. They knew that they had to be cautious, but they also recognized the necessity of standing their ground. As dusk began to settle over their neighborhood, the Thompsons made their way towards Jake's house. The streets were quiet, with only the sound of crickets filling the air. Max walked alongside them, his presence a reminder of their purpose. Each step felt heavy with apprehension, yet they were fueled by a determination to uncover the truth. When they reached Jake's house, they paused at the gate. The mother took a deep breath, her heart racing. "We can do this. We're in it together," she reassured the family, her voice steady despite the tension. They approached the door as a cohesive unit, the strength of their bond bolstering their resolve. The father knocked on the door, the sound echoing in the stillness of the evening. Moments passed, and just as doubt began to creep in, the door creaked open. Jake stood before them, a look of surprise crossing his face. "What brings you here?" he asked, his tone guarded. The father took the lead, his voice firm but respectful. "We found something that belongs to you in our yard, and we'd like to talk." He gestured to the fabric, which Sarah held in her hand. Jake's expression shifted, a flicker of wariness crossing his features. "I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, his eyes darting away from theirs. The Thompsons felt a chill wash over them. The evasiveness in his tone was unsettling, and they could sense the tension radiating from him. The mother stepped forward, her voice softer yet resolute. "We're concerned for our family's safety. Max has been acting differently, and we can't ignore that. We just want to understand what's been happening." For a moment, there was silence. The air was thick with unspoken words, the weight of their inquiry hanging heavy between them. Jake shifted his weight, his demeanor shifting slightly as he seemed to consider his response. "I've just been having a tough time lately," he finally admitted, his voice almost a whisper. "I never meant to cause any trouble." The family's hearts softened at the vulnerability in his admission, but they knew they had to tread carefully. "If you're struggling, we can help," the mother said, her compassion shining through the fear. "But we need to ensure our families are safe." Jake looked at them, a mixture of emotions crossing his face: fear, confusion, and perhaps a flicker of gratitude. "I didn't mean to frighten anyone. I was just lost in my thoughts. I didn't realize how I may have come across." The father nodded, sensing the tension beginning to ease. "It's important for us to communicate openly. We want to feel safe in our neighborhood." As they spoke, the Thompsons realized that sometimes fear could stem from misunderstanding, and compassion could bridge the gap of fear. The conversation that unfolded was a delicate dance of vulnerability and concern. Jake opened up about his recent struggles, revealing the isolation he had felt. The Thompsons listened, their hearts heavy with empathy. They understood that mental health challenges could manifest in unexpected ways, leading to fear and misunderstandings among neighbors. As they spoke, the atmosphere shifted from one of suspicion to understanding. The father shared stories of their own challenges, emphasizing the importance of community support. Slowly, Jake began to relax, his defenses lowering as he felt the warmth of their compassion. By the time they parted ways, the air between them was lighter. The Thompsons had not only addressed their concerns, but had also opened the door to a dialogue that would foster a sense of community and connection. They learned that sometimes confronting fear with compassion could lead to unexpected healing. Returning home, the family felt a sense of relief wash over them. They had faced their fears, and in doing so, had forged a stronger bond not only with each other, but with their neighbors as well. Max, who had been their unwavering protector throughout this ordeal, now lay peacefully at their feet, content in the knowledge that his family was safe. In the days that followed, the Thompsons made a conscious effort to check in on Jake and include him in neighborhood activities. They recognized that their initial fear had been a catalyst for change, prompting them to foster a deeper connection within their community. As they embraced the lessons learned from their experience, they felt a renewed sense of purpose in protecting and supporting one another. Max remained a constant presence, his intuitive nature guiding them through the complexities of their lives. The Thompsons learned to trust his instincts even more, understanding that love and loyalty could manifest in the most unexpected ways. Their journey had transformed from one of fear to one of growth, reminding them of the importance of empathy and understanding in overcoming challenges. As the sun set on the horizon, casting a warm glow over their home, the family gathered together, grateful for the bonds they had strengthened. They reflected on the events that had unfolded, recognizing that sometimes the greatest lessons come from the most challenging experiences. In that moment, they made a pact, a commitment to remain vigilant, to trust each other, and to extend their compassion to others in their community. They knew that life could be unpredictable, but as long as they stood together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, their story continued, an ongoing journey filled with love, resilience, and a profound understanding of the unseen forces that shape their lives. The Thompsons were no longer just a family navigating the complexities of life. They were a united front, steadfast in their commitment to protect their home and embrace the power of empathy in a world that often felt uncertain. As they settled into the evening, the warmth of their home enveloping them, they were reminded that they were never truly alone. They had each other, their beloved Max, and a community that was beginning to heal, one conversation at a time. If you find yourself inspired by this story, please let us know where you're tuning in from, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming tales that celebrate the bonds of family and community. Your support helps us share these important messages with the world.